Hello everyone, in this video we will set up our project and then we will start building the first parts of our code. So the first thing that we need to do is to create folders, okay? So we're going to use two approaches here. So I created two folders for the object-oriented programming and the procedural programming. So we will start with the procedural. So as you can see right here, we have our coordinates.csv. Now if I double click this, so you can see the data. So here is our data. So this is actually in CSV format. So you can copy the data if you want to code along. Okay, so you can pause the video, copy the data, or I will also upload this data in the our VSUEE. Okay, so now that we have our folder set up, I will now go to Visual Studio Code. Okay, so actually I already set it up beforehand, but I'm still gonna show you how. So just go to File and then go to Open Folder. Okay, so just click the procedural and select folder, and that's basically it. So it will be open here in the Explorer tab. So now we can now start building our code. So right here in the open space, you can just right click there and then create a new file. So we are going to name our .py file procedural. Okay, .py. Okay, press enter, and now you have a Python script. Okay, so we need to import some libraries that we're going to use. Okay, so we need to import the CSV library. This will be the one that we're going to use to read out the data from our CSV input file. And then we also need to import the math library, because we will use some math functions. Okay, so let's think for a bit. So our first goal here is to convert the data from the CSV file into elements in a list. So basically, it's a list of lists. Okay, so if you do not know what a list is, so it is a collection of objects. Okay, so let us create sample lists here, so you will get a solid idea of what a list is. Okay, so let's say we have a sample list. Okay, so it can be anything. It can be a list of numbers, right? It's like an array. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to write here. So basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, so to access the elements of our list, so you can just use sample. You can just do this sample list, and then the index of the element that you want. So the 1 here is index 0, and the 10 here is index 9. Okay, so because we start from 0. Okay, so let's try printing this. Okay, so here we have our output. So we have 1 as our output, because that is index 0 is 1. Okay, and if you want to, let's say for example, print every single element in our list, so we will use a for loop. Okay, so for element, okay, so this is a variable name, for element in sample list. Okay, so we are reviewing some basic programming concepts here, and we're going to print our element. Okay, limits. Okay, so let's run this. So here we have 1 to 10. Okay, so that's basically it. So in our case, so we will have, if we read out our input file, then we will have a list of lists. Okay, so what does that look like in the first place? So let's have a sample here. So point list is equal to, so a list of lists. Okay, so this is how it looks like. Okay, so we will have sample. Let's create some data. Let's say this is our point 1, and then this will be, so everything will be in string format here once we read it. Okay, so 1, and our northings is 20,000, let's say for example, and then our eastings is still 20,000. So take note, these are inside these quotation marks because these are strings, right? When you read them out, they will be strings. Okay, so let's just create 2 points here. So we have let's say 19,000 and 19,000 still. Okay, so this is what it looks like actually. Okay, so if we print this, so let's say we want to print the northings of the first point. So how are we going to do that? So we want to print. So point list, point list. So if I'm going to use the index 0, the index 0, that will give us this list right here. Okay? That will give us this list. Okay, so let's try printing it. Okay, so there you have it here. So this is our list. So 1, 20,000, 20,000. But if you want to access this, the northings, you know that that is the second, this is index, in this particular list, we have the index 0 is 1. And the second index, index of 1 is 20,000. That will be our northing. So you will put another square brackets here. Then we will access 1. So if you want to print the 20,000 northings. So if we print that, then you will get our 20,000. Okay, so that's how you access elements in a list of lists. Okay, so that's basically it for our review of this particular data structure. So let us now create our points. Okay, so let's just name it points is equal to a list. Okay, so just create an empty list. Okay, so this will make sense afterwards. So after creating our code here, we will discuss how it works as a summary. Okay, so sorry, there should be no X there. Okay, so now our goal is to read out each line in our CSV file. Okay, now before reading it out, we need to open the file first. Okay, so we need to use some syntax. So with open, okay, so there are actually other ways to open CSV file or text file. So we are going to use this one because this is the most ubiquitous syntax that is being used right now for opening and for opening CSV or text files. Okay, so with open, and then inside this open method, we are going to put in the two arguments. The first one is the location of our coordinates.csv. So let's go back to our folder. So let's copy this. Let's copy this, and then let's go back here. So and then we will paste it inside some quotation marks, a single quotation marks. Okay, so we are just going to change this slashes because this is how Python works in terms of these file addresses. Procedural, and also we're going to input the coordinates.csv here. And then the second argument will be R, which means we are reading. Okay, we are reading the file. Later we will also write in it, but as of now, we will just read. And then as coordinates. Okay. Okay, and then colon. Okay, so once you press enter, there will be a tab there, automatic tab. So we are inside this method. Okay, so what we're going to do next is to create a variable. So coordinate, let's name it coordinate list. Okay, is equal to, so here is where we are going to use the CSV library. CSV dot reader. Okay, we are going to use the reader function from the CSV library, and then we will write in the coordinates. So why is it that we are not writing coordinates.csv? Because we already said that open it as coordinates here. So this will be the variable that we're going to use to represent the file. So csv.reader and then coordinates. Okay. So now that we have that, we need to append each and every line. So from this coordinate list to to our points list, okay? Because this right here, this coordinate list right here is not yet a list. This is still an object. Okay, so if we print the type, if we print this, the data type of coordinate list, okay, just to see what it really is. Okay, so it is a class, and then the CSV reader. Okay, so this is an object, and then this object CSV reader object. Okay, so we need to read. We can iterate through this. Actually, we can iterate through the coordinate list. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a for loop for each line. So I'm going to name it line in the coordinate list. Okay, the coordinate list, and then points. So this is the points list. The list. So a list object has a method called append. So if you want to add an element within a list, you can use the append. Okay. So here's how it works. So points dot append and then line. Okay, so basically, we are going through each line and then we are adding each line to our points list. Okay, so after doing that, we can now access our data in our points list. So we want to print that. So let's for element in points. So let's see if we already have our data inside our points list. So print. We're going to print each element. Okay, so let's do that. So here we have it. So we have our 1.1 and their corresponding northings and eastings. Okay, so that's basically it, guys. So to recap, so first we created an empty list. So this is the points list. Okay, just create a list, an empty list first, and then using this open function, open method. So we inputted here, we entered here, inputted, I'm sorry for that. So we entered here the string for our file location. And then don't forget to change the slashes. And then the second argument here is an R because we are reading the file. We will use W later when we will write to the file. And then as coordinates. Now this will be the variable that will represent our coordinates.csv. Then here we created a variable coordinate list, and then we use the csv.reader and then to read out the coordinates from our coordinates.csv. And then we appended each line inside this coordinate list object. We iterated through the coordinate list, and then we appended each line to our empty points list. So we added each line there. And then for checking if we already have our data inside our points list, we created another for loop. So take note that the for loop is outside the function already, right? So if you can recall, the indentations in Python is very crucial. Okay, so for element in points, that print element, and then print element inside the loop. So we printed each and every element. So each element is a list. So these are our data. So we can now manipulate this data to start working towards our output. Okay, so I hope you learned something new in this video or refreshed some memory of the data structure, which is the list. Okay, so thank you for watching, and we will create some functions in the next videos. Okay, see you in the next one.